I am very tech savvy, everyone. Just so you guys know. Okay, so hopefully you guys got to attend the other ruler meeting that we have. Welcome. Today we're going to talk a little bit more about the charter and what that is. So kind of let's get started. My name is Alankar, and we also have Phoebe as the co-host. She is ECC counselor, and I am the 1 through 8 counselor. So we have a mood meter going. Phoebe's got the link up. We're going to add it throughout the presentation. If you guys remember what the reds and the yellows and the orange, so you have reds are like angry, frustrated, stressed. Yellow is like happy, productive. Then we have green where you're cooperative, you feel safe, calm, relaxed. And then the blue is discouraged, sad, bored, lonely, depressed. No feeling is wrong feeling, right? You guys can feel anything you want to. So that's kind of where the energy's at. I get it. End of the day, 5:30. Everybody's worked, had a long day, kids are at home. So yeah, that's where we're at on the mood meter. We're gonna plot it as we go out, and then at the end, we will show you guys results. Are you guys ready? Okay.
All right, I'm going to start us off with just like what Ruler is and why we really wanted to adopt this. So last year we rolled out Ruler, which is from the Yale Center of Emotional Intelligence. We rolled it out to faculty and staff, and so we went through trainings all last year, and then we're using this year to, as you guys know, roll it out to our students and to families. And so there's a lot of reasons why we love Ruler. There's a really helpful article from Ruler that kind of shows some like scientific, science-like based reasons why they've seen that Ruler works. And so the first one is like there's been positive, they've seen that implementing Ruler brings positive shifts in school climate. So it's enhanced teacher instruction and then also student engagement. And a lot of that comes from the emotional intelligence piece of that. So the second one is less bullying and aggressive behavior. And so through things like the mood meter and the charter, and then the other tools that we'll get to in the next few months, create a lot of empathy and emotional connection that decreases these aggressive behaviors. The next one is enhanced academic performance. It helps with focus and confidence, which helps in that area. And then lastly, just better quality relationships all around. All these tools, if we kind of simmer it down, a lot of them are to foster connection and empathy, and thus creates better relationships. So Ruler has a helpful acronym, as you can see on the slideshow right there. So the first one is R, so it's recognizing emotions in oneself and others. And so it's that self-awareness. How do we know how we're feeling, and then also how other people are feeling? And the mood meter is really helpful for that, as we can notice where we're feeling, but also if you do it in a communal context, you're able to see how other people are feeling and what's going on with them, and not only what feeling they say they're having, but also how we can read facial expressions and body language and tone of voice. So the next one is U, which is understanding the causes and consequence of emotions. So yeah, knowing how our emotions influence our thoughts and the decisions we make and how that affects our lives. And then L is labeling emotions with a nuanced vocabulary. And this is one of my favorite things about Ruler is it's not just about like happy, sad, mad, glad, but it, starts with those more basic emotions and then it spreads out. So maybe you thought you were angry, but really you're disappointed, or you're frustrated, or, you're excited or anxious, whatever it is, but it creates a more nuanced thing that helps us be more like focused and like what actually is going on and how can we help that. So the next one is expressing emotions in accordance with cultural norms and social context. So everything we do is influenced by social and cultural rules. A lot of these are unspoken, and so it helps us know like what can I do at home versus at school, and how do I talk to my mom versus my friend versus my teacher, and helping in those situations. And then lastly is regulating emotions with helpful strategies. And so Ruler gives really specific concrete tools for us to use in knowing how to be effective to manage our emotions, the comfortable ones and the uncomfortable ones at school and also at home, which is, what we're here to help us look at today. So that's kind of a brief overview of Ruler and why we think it's important and how we think it's going to be really great for St. Paul's and then, as it gets into your guys' homes. So that's it for that one. Alcar, if you want to go to the next slide.
So this is the four like kind of categories of Ruler. We are going to talk about the charter today. We've already talked about the mood meter. Briefly, the meta moment we're going to talk about in the future. So we're looking at next semester, next quarter. So it's thinking of your best self and then, realizing what your best self is when you've been triggered, when you're kind of in that moment of not knowing how you're feeling or why. The blueprint's going to be more of your perspective and feelings, kind of looking at why you reacted a certain way and why, the other party reacted a certain way. It could be in the future or in the past. You could look at different events, and then it's like conflict resolution. So today we're going to focus mostly on the charter.
Alcar, I don't know if you were going to mention this, but something that I was going to point out is that right now we've only, like you said, only done the mood meter in the charter. In pre-K for my family who have younger students, we're in pre-K, we're only doing the mood meter in the charter. And then as we move into kindergarten, we're adding the meta moment. And then first grade is when we'll do blueprint. And so 1st through 8th, we'll have all 4 tools. And so we work up to that. So right now, kindergarten and pre-K are going to do all their, have learned all they're going to learn for Ruler at this point. But then as kindergarten goes to, kindergarten will add meta moment. And then first grade is when they get them all. So it kind of is a gradual step into this.
Yeah. Thanks for mentioning that. Totally forgot. Okay. We have the charter now. Okay, so what is the charter? The charter is kind of like how you want to feel as, in this case, a family. We discussed briefly about charters at the school. It's how, 4 or 5 different ways that you want to feel as a family or as a classroom, and how to get there. It's kind of like your motto. So here's some examples that we have at our school. The top 2 are 2nd grade. So in the lower school, each classroom has come up with certain words that they feel like they want to feel, they want to feel in the classroom. The bottom right is middle school. So middle school as a whole has come up with what they would like to feel like as a division. And then Phoebe, the bottom left is the ECC, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so what I like about the charter is, both for classrooms and for families, is that it has a really big sense of shared communication. Like we all know what words that we're trying to feel, and it's repeated a lot, and so it just becomes regular communication and known communication, and so everyone's kind of on the same page. And also it's always done together, and so it's we don't want it to be like me or Alcar or a teacher coming in and being like, this is how you want to feel at school, and no questions asked, but it's a whole group thing where they actually feel like they participated, and then it makes them have some buy-in in that as well. So yeah, we pushed it at the beginning of the school year, and the bottom left one actually is for all of pre-K and kindergarten. We're going to have them be different per grade level, but as I did them, they actually said really similar words, and so we ended up just making a ECC charter because they ended up being the same.
Yeah, so you look at some of these, even at different grade levels, you have happy on all of them. I think that's awesome that you have these little kids that are, 4 and 5, and then you've got these kids that are 12, 13, 14, and they all still want to just be happy. And understood was another one that I saw. I think it's really important to see that this kind of, feeling is throughout all ages. And I think it's great that we have it on paper now, because it's you never think about that, but you're like, wow, we all want to feel some of these same things, regardless of the age. I think it's very important. Okay.
All right, so kind of getting to the bulk of what we want to talk about tonight is how we can create a family charter. So you guys saw the ways that we've used it in the classrooms and how, they're displayed in every classroom, and they're used as, that daily reminder of how they want to feel at school. And we want to implement that into our St. Paul's houses. And so that we're seeing a lot of similar things. And we don't want just Ruler to be here, but also to be in the home. And so I really love the family charter. I've already done it with a few families and kind of guided them through that. And so we want to discuss that for a little bit. So to begin with, you have to do like a little bit of planning, not really, but finding a time when everyone is calm and focused. I think it's important not to make it seem like this like homework thing or this kind of drudgery thing, but it can be fun. You can like get your guys' favorite takeout or make hot chocolate or something and be like, hey, we're going to do this like family activity. And it might not be like the same as going to like watch a movie, but it doesn't need to be like, okay, now we're going to talk about feelings and be serious for 30 minutes. But it can be like a fun, joy-filled thing. But I think it's important to do it in a time when people are like, or when you guys and your kids are in a calm state, a focused state, and like ready to do that. And so that everyone's kind of on board. So yeah, that's important. The kind of like setting of it, as it says in the location, being warm and inviting environment. So whatever that means for your family, it might be the living room, it might be the kitchen, it might be to dinner somewhere, like whatever that is for you guys. But having it be that. And then materials needed. This is the thing too with the charter, you can create it kind of however you want. So you can make it with paper, construction paper, really big poster paper with pencils or markers or Sharpies, stickers. Or, I mean, if you want a virtual option, I know like some, especially maybe if you have older students, older kids, they might, you might rather make it on some kind of Photoshop type thing or Canva, to where maybe it looks like a little cuter and not as like glitter marker, but also that's cute too. So like, whatever works, but like just using your guys's personality and giftings that everyone has. And you might have, kids that range from 4 to 14. And so however you guys can best collaborate is really important. And I think lastly, just kind of reminding them that this is a like safe space of like understanding and empathy, and that all feelings are like matter and are important. And everyone probably isn't gonna like have every word be the exact same, but that all matters. Like how you want to feel at home is important to you guys. And so setting that stage of like, this is kind of judgment free, and we just want to talk about like how we can make home the like safest and like most comfortable place for all of us. So that's kind of the like beginning stages of how we're going to create it, and how what's the setting, what do we need, how are we feeling. Like you might plan to do it on a Thursday night and it was a really long day and everything was terrible, and you're like, maybe we'll wait till Sunday night, or whatever, just so that everyone feels on board and involved. So that's the beginning stage of creating a family charter.
I think you guys are going to find this easier than it actually like you may think it is, because I feel like with my kids, anytime you ask them to be involved in a family event, a family plan, they're all for it, right? They want to be involved, they want to be included, they want to be part of the team. It's going to be easy to get your kids down, the younger ones especially.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead. Sorry.
I think the warm, inviting environment's pretty important too. Our family's big on candles, so just setting the mood also. It sounds like you don't need to, but that's going to really get the kids and yourself to just relax and in the right space to make those decisions on what you guys want to feel individually as a family. And also you guys are all going to do this individually, whether it be like in different parts of the room or in the same room, just a few minutes to figure out what words each of you want to feel. Sorry, Phoebe, go ahead.
Oh, no, you're fine. I was just going to say that, like you said, Onkar, the younger kids are often more likely to be like, yeah, whatever, like we want to hang out with you. And not that your older kids don't want to hang out with you, but giving them some choices too of like, hey, where do you want to do it? How do you want to do this? And making them feel like they have more say than just like, all right, living room at 7:30 is like, we're doing this thing. And so giving some like choice on, those things so that they feel like they're kind of a part of that whole thing.
Yeah, totally agree. Okay, so how do we want to feel in our family, right? Ask everyone how they want to feel as a family and individually as a whole. Do you want to feel like the kid on the left, a little sad, a little mad, unexcited, or do you want to feel like kid on the right, surprised, adventurous? You guys can decide individually and then as a family. So writing down 6 to 8 feelings word, and I know that most of you have gotten the mood meter magnet, if not a printout of different types of emojis or words that have different labels on them. I have one in my office and then one at home, and it's really helped my family expand our verbiage on our emotions. It's really been helpful. So I think looking at that even would be great. And then, sitting down and, like we had the overlap that we saw earlier with the ECC, pre-KK, and then lower school, upper school, figure out what the overlap is with your family, with the kids and the parents. And then come up with words that work, compare and contrast the words, and then narrow it down to 5 words. I think that's really important in my family. We've done this. Lydia is my youngest. She has not, but Fiona, my middle child, who's almost 4, has, and my 3rd grader have. So it really helps to get a better idea of how to reset ourselves and come up with what we want to feel as a family. So we have loved, connected, calm, and then heard. So those are some of the ones that we've listed in our family that have seemed to work out pretty well. This takes practice. This isn't going to be 100% right off the gate, you guys. This is going to take some practice and getting used to, just like anything else. We do that with our kids here, with practice and our own kids. They're not going to be 100%. We're not going to be 100% right off the bat. So give yourself some grace when it comes to being regular on the charter and ruler in general.
I just to add on to what you're saying, Alcar, I think when I've done this with a couple of families, there's been sometimes a little bit of tension because maybe a few of them really want this word, but like this other person is like, nah, like that's not how I don't really care about that. Or maybe they're like, that's fine, but like that's not near my top. And so like that's gonna be kind of it can be tricky at first because people are like, if this is gonna be like hung on our fridge for the rest of our lives, like we want to make sure we agree with it. So it's important to have, that buy-in, but it's hard when you're only choosing 5, especially if you have, 3, 4 kids and parents, or, when there becomes more than 3 of you, it can get complicated. So I think trying to like fuse words, like being creative and being like, okay, you said excited and you said happy, like I'm wondering if we can kind of find a middle ground there of like, joyful or whatever that might be. And so trying to use that nuanced vocabulary that we've been talking about to find maybe words that fit a few words into one singular word can be helpful. And sometimes it's hard, but I also want to say, like we said at the end, narrow list to 5 words. That's like what's suggested, is to have 5 to 6 words. If you need to have more, like I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think the main thing is if we were to have 15, it's hard to like be actually consistent in doing those things. And so I wouldn't go crazy, but if you're trying to stick with 5 and one of your kiddos is like, I really want this other word, then like put it on there. Like it's not, that's fine. So we don't have to be super rigid on that. Or I mean, it can be 4 words too. If you're like, hey, we feel really strongly about these 4 and there's not really a 5th we are all really resonating on, that's fine too. And so I think sometimes we get caught up in like, well, it says 5, so we need 5, and I'll release you from that pressure to stick within the 5 and like it's good. So there might be a little bit of like working around some of that if there's some disagreements on what words people want, but through some creativity and maybe some being working around a little bit of that, hopefully it will all be fine. But Ankar, was there anything else you wanted to add on to here? I was gonna send the link out for our word cloud. Was there anything else you wanted to say?
No, I've got some stuff I want to say on the next one, but
okay. Well, I'm going to send out, I know I did the mood meter link, but I'm going to send out another link. If we were in person, I might have us have you guys sit down and list out some ways that you want to feel while you're at home, just to kind of get your brain working in that way. But since we're on this format, there's a lot of good tools. Actually, Mindy suggested this to me this morning. And so I'm going to send out this Menti link. And when you click onto it, it should have 2 text boxes. Someone can correct me if it's not on there, that it should ask, like, how do I want to feel at home? And then it'll give you the opportunity to put in a couple words. It is like, you can put in as many as you want. Like, you can keep submitting if you're really feeling excited about it. But you can put 1 to 2. And then at the end, we'll kind of see in a big word cloud, like all the different ways that we want to feel at home. And this is just to kind of, like I said, have you guys start thinking about the ways that you're wanting to feel at home so that you can prepare to talk to your kids about that. So is the link working fine? We're good there? Okay. Sounds great. Okay, that's all I had for that. And then we'll check back in on that in a little bit.
Yeah. Ms. Hode, was there something you wanted to add? I felt like maybe I saw some mouth movement there, but it could have been towards kids. You're on mute.
Sorry, yeah, I pulled up the Menti and then I lost my Zoom screen. Does that ever happen? And you're like, oh, where did everyone go?
Oh, yes.
I was just going to ask, and we've kind of passed it, but to your point, Alencar and Phoebe, do you think it's okay if maybe your your family charter remains in flex for a little while? Like maybe it started out as a casual dinner conversation, and maybe you keep 6 or 7 words up on the fridge for a while you really think about, which ones kind of rise to the top over maybe a month of conversations. I don't know what y'all's thoughts are on that.
I think it's completely, it depends on what's going on in the family, right? Say if there's some sort of event where you need different types of support and you want to feel something else, change it, you guys. It's totally fine, in my opinion. And change it if it doesn't work, right? If you're not meeting these goals, change the word, change the verbiage. It's up to you guys. It's your buy-in. It's your kids' buy-in. I absolutely think that's okay. Phoebe?
Yeah, I agree. And we'll get to this in a little bit, but one of the things about the charter that's really great is it talks about it being a living document. So it's supposed to be continually edited and changed, whether that be by month, bi-weekly, monthly, every 6 months, every quarter, however that is. But to your kind of question, Lucy, I think that it doesn't have to be like one night we figure it all out. Like we have all the words. I think it's a good starting place to try to do a lot of these things. And it might mean one day we brainstorm, the next day, or maybe not the next day, but the next time you do it, you come up with a list of words, and then the next time you create it. But it could also be like, hey, we're going to try these words out and see how it is. And then I think, obviously it's important at some point to come to here's what we're going to sign off on for now, but it doesn't need to be in this one sitting. I think you can take as much time as you need to get it to where you want it to be, especially if it's about getting everyone bought in too, because we want it to be, something that everyone feels good about. So if that takes longer, totally fine.
Okay. What can we do in order to have those feelings, right? Create 1 to 2 goals. So I have these pictures up because in our house, we want to be happy and loved, right? So the first one's loved, second one's happy. What does that look like, you guys? So let's make some measurable goals here, right? Let's dogpile mom or someone in the family twice a week or 3 times a week. It sounds ridiculous, but dogpiling is so much fun and can create so much connectivity. I see that with my kids. Phoebe, you say that a lot of kids dogpile you at sunshine circles, right? And so I'm sure that feels something for you and the kids. And so I think that's really important. So make these attainable goals. What do you want to do with happiness, right? So the two kids on the right, maybe you give a goal of, I'm going to hug my sibling, or I'm going to hug my partner, or I'm going to hug my kids in the morning and at night. So you make these specific goals that are measurable and realistic and specific. And I think it's really important because it's really easy to say, I want to feel happy as a family. Okay, what does that look like? Are you smiling at each other? Are you hugging each other? Are you sharing a meal together? What does happiness look like in your family? what does calmness look like in your family? Does calmness look like we're going to sit down for 15 minutes a night with some calming music and all read silently? Like, is that calming? Like, that could be it for you. Um, Connectivity, I want to feel connected. What does that look like? Well, let's break that down to I want to spend 15 minutes with each child reading at night to them, right? Or them reading to me. Or as a family, reading Harry Potter or something, something that you guys all pick out. I think diving down into that's going to make a huge difference on creating and keeping that charter and that goal in mind a lot easier and measurable. And again, that's changeable too. If I think Phoebe, we talked, you said spending 30 minutes with each kid like every week. Yes, that sounds great individually. That can be a little hard sometimes with people that have more kids. So if that doesn't work for the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks, change it up. It's okay. Anything else, Phoebe, with that?
Yeah, I think it's important, that specificity of it, because I know when I make goals for myself, just whatever it might be, the New Year's is coming up, and I know we're starting to think about like, what do we want to be in 2022? In the times that I've been like, I'm gonna work out more, like it's just like not, there's nothing to really keep me accountable there, and it's like, okay, but like when and how and for how long and like all of those things, and so the specific and measure and realistic, I think actually make them more attainable because we're actually seeing like, okay, what steps do we need to actually make those things? And it makes a lot more concrete. And for our kids, I think if they see something specific, it's a lot easier than just like be happy or like, say hi or, play together. Like that's fine. But I think makes us just say that and then that doesn't actually happen. And so I was thinking about like the word calm, which Onkar, you already kind of mentioned this, but maybe not so good goal would it be if someone was like, our goal for calm is to not yell at each other. It's like, well, that's great. Like, I don't want you to yell at each other. But like, how can we actually create calmness instead of just not doing a certain behavior? And so that might look like, in the ECC, we have a lot of like safe spots, safe spaces. And so for everyone to have a designated safe spot. So like when we're feeling frustrated, everyone can go to their safe spot. And that might look like a really specific place for a younger kid. And maybe for adults, it's like your bathroom or your bedroom or your something to like be away. And that might look like, doing 2 mindfulness practices as a family twice or, 2 a week, or taking 3 balloon breaths every morning before we go to school, like having pretty specific things that like work itself into your guys' like weekly or daily rhythms. So it becomes pretty second nature. And if you don't do them, it's like, oh, like this feels off. So it's not reactionary as much as it is like, hey, it's actually a part of our lives to create calmness, not just to like subdue, frustration, but to actually like create an atmosphere in that way. And so that's why I think it's really important to be specific. And so you can actually look back and be like, are we actually doing this? Like, is it working? Because it's hard to look back and be like, are we having fun? It's like, well, yeah, I guess, but like, are we actually doing those things to get us there? So anyway, yeah, I would second all of what you said, Onkar, and that.
Yeah, this could totally be fun, you guys. Like, who doesn't like a good high five and how that makes them feel, right? You could even say something like that. I'm going to give high fives to people in my family today, or once a week. I mean, it feels so good. So it could be fun as well. It doesn't have to be all touchy-feely if you don't want it to be. You can make it fun because that's going to make a difference on how you feel as well, individually and as a family. Okay.
All right. So putting it all together. And this is, I think, a lot of the fun part where, like I said, you can be creative. Like I said at the beginning, you use your family strengths, your individual strengths. It can be a thing to like have fun. There's also like no limits. It doesn't have to look a certain way. It can be really different. You can also make multiple. So if you want like a cuter looking one for the kitchen where people see it, it can be that way. And then like maybe each kid makes their own for their bedroom. And so that can be very personalized to them. It's the same words and the same goals that are on there, but it feels more like their own. And so no limits on that. It can be really big and colorful, or it can be, typed out on a piece of paper and hung up if that's like more your vibe. It can be have drawings, it can have stickers, pictures of your family, like literally whatever. I think that this is the beauty of it, is there's not like a exact formula of how it needs to look. It can be, it can represent you guys and like what you value there and what's fun for you guys. And so that's the like making it piece. I don't have anything like super specific because I think we want it to be pretty open-ended to make it feel like yours, and not something that we're telling you how to do. But so what's important though for it to be on there, like whatever can be on there in terms of fun things and like creative things, but what we mainly want is the 4 to 6 words that are on there listed out, the 1 to 2 goals to reach each of those feelings, and then lastly would be to sign the document. So to have everyone in whatever way they're able to sign it. You know, so it might just be like some markings from the 2-year-olds, but like that's okay. But those are the 3 pieces that we want on there, is feeling words, the goals, and then those signatures. And that's like, obviously this is not like legally binding, but it talks about it being kind of morally binding so that you see it and you're like, hey, I like committed to this. Obviously, so everyone is going to break it most days. Like that's not, the goal isn't perfection here, but like to strive after those words. And so it's all right if it doesn't happen, but I think that signature reminds everyone that like, hey, I have a part to play in this and I actually helped create this. And there's like some more of that in there. And so then lastly is just to display the charter, and that again can look however you want. It can be you know, in the living room, in the kitchen, in bedrooms, in the bathroom, on the back of a door, in the car, like however you want. It can be displayed once or it can be displayed 8 times. Like there's no, again, no limit on that. It's just like whatever feels best for you. I mean, I think it's important, I guess, if there is a limit, it would be to make sure it's fairly visible, not like displayed in a drawer, but like somewhere where you're able to see it and be reminded of that. So that's it on putting it together. I know it's kind of vague, but a lot of that is just to leave room for you guys to do it how you want to. And then next is keeping the family charter alive. And so I already touched on this a little bit. I think it's important to schedule bi-weekly or monthly meetings, kind of like family meetings around the charter. And so to ask questions like what's working, what's not working, are we actually feeling these things? Like, and you can go around and ask like, hey, are you feeling loved here? Are you feeling safe, connected, you know, whatever your words are, which I think leads to, I mean, a lot of vulnerability. And so it's important in those moments too, to be like, hey, you can like express openly how you're feeling. It's not a judgment zone, but that's what is going to keep the charter alive, is if you continually bring it up and revise that. And so you can also have each family member set a daily or weekly goal. And what I think what works well is if you choose one word that maybe you like struggle the most with, like even giving, like maybe you struggle with like being a calm presence, or like you struggle with like showing other people love, or whatever that might be. So finding a word that feels most challenging to like honor on the charter, and using that, maybe that's your monthly word that you're going to like really focus on, like making sure that you're making a loving environment. Of course, all of them are important, but I also know we all have like leanings and giftings towards different ways. And so you're able to do some like reflection there, and then like help your kids out and see, maybe coming up with some goals of like, we're going to do this for our siblings, and like come up with that. And then again, I know this is kind of in the theme, but be creative and fun with it. And so that can be, you know, you can post weekly, like kind of, you know, inspirational kind of quotes that go along with the words that you guys have, or do kind of like random acts of kindness, even like taking, you're like, okay guys, we said we wanted to feel loved at home. How can we as a family bring that love and like take it somewhere in the community and do some like more outreach stuff of that, of like, we're going to take the way we feel here and bring it outside of ourselves and that. And then the next one, as I kind of mentioned already, is revising the charter. So as needed, it again is a living document. And so if for a year you're like, this is great, we don't need to change it, like don't feel there's no pressure to change, but there's also no pressure to like to not change it. Like you're totally good to do whatever. But, you know, it's hard when you like decorated the whole thing to like then have to redo it, but that's okay. It's just a fun another little art night. And then last one is share your pride and achievements. And so this is just a good opportunity to like tell your friends and your families about how you guys created the charter and how you feel good about the changes. And just kind of like celebrate those wins that you guys have of the ways that it's helped you and made you guys feel happier in your homes. So that's it on keeping the family charter alive. Onkar, do you have anything to add to that?
Not with this one, no. I think you did a great job.
Thanks.
Okay, revisiting the mood meter. Utilizing a mood meter at home. I hope a lot of you guys are using the mood meter. It's helped me individually and as a family, at home and at school. And I say that because, depending on how I'm feeling, depends on how I'm going to go into a sunshine circle, right? Or an SEL lesson. So I need to check myself and regulate it. What I love about sunshine circles do you do that down to toddler or no?
Yeah.
Okay, so toddler through 5th, there's only 3 rules, and I say these rules because I think it's very important, or they relate to the charter, right? So there's no hurts, you stick together, and you have fun. And if you can use those 3 in your charter when you're even checking in as to how it's going, you have, it's a great way to kind of quickly see if the charter is working for your family and yourself. No hurts, you stick together, and you're having fun. So I think it's great when you're using the mood meter and applying it to the charter and, just bringing it all together. So at home, when are you doing this? Are you doing this individually in the morning? Maybe you don't have breakfast together. Maybe you do. Maybe you check in at breakfast. And then you check in at dinner if you're having dinner together. If you're not, let's check in at the same time. You can do it individually. Almost all the students know the mood meter here. You can do a 5 p.m. check-in, right? Say someone's at work, someone's at home with the other kid, and someone's at basketball. Just do a quick check-in and then say how you're feeling. I think it's important to be consistent on this, on the time of day, to get a better idea of where you're feeling, what you're feeling at what part of the day. So how you're checking in at, it could be the magnet, the poster, the piece of paper that we sent, the emoji. You could do any of that. I think it's all, relevant. And then who? I know a lot of families in general, not necessarily here, but just personally, always check in with the kids as to how the kids are doing. But I think it's really important that the kids see how you're doing. As time goes on and with practice, kids are going to know, hey, dad's at a red. I'm looking at my poster and he's frustrated. So I know not to say or ask dad why he's frustrated at this point, because it's not going to work, right? So something like that, I think is important that we all check in at. And then at school, division heads, I was going to, ask you guys to chime in here. What do you guys do at school? How does this look at school? And then if you want to add, I'd love to hear about how this works in your family.
I can start with the little ones. I was just going to point out in talking about the mood meter and how we use it at school, that one of the things that I really love when we geek out on emotional intelligence is how when we start teaching this with little ones, we point out how much the emotional is connected to the physical. And I think it's such a good reminder for us as adults too, and what that looks like with little ones, especially in the moment when they're really experiencing an unpleasant emotion in the classroom, at school, is just noticing without judgment what their body is doing. So perhaps saying, I can see that you're crossing your arms. Sometimes when I cross my arms, I feel frustrated. Are you feeling frustrated? Or I can see that you're furrowing your brow. I can see that you're crying. Because so often, even as adults, we forget that how we feel physically and what we do with our body is a direct reaction to how we're feeling inside. And one step in helping kids feel or know where they are in the mood meter and being able to build this vocabulary is looking at clues from the physical on other kids and how other kids and adults are reacting with their body, which is really important, and being able to form relationships, and also feeling their own body and knowing, using that as a first clue to how they're feeling. So I love that, just like in the moment, if someone is feeling unpleasant, just to notice what you see with your child and to help that in the reflection to name their emotion. So that was my example of how we use the mood meter in ECC.
and jump up to lower school. So there are a few different examples I can give quickly. Many students, as they walk into the classroom in the morning, will walk over to a mood meter and plot themselves. And this is a great way for the teacher to gauge how each student individually is doing and how the whole class is doing. We'll often use a similar approach in faculty meetings, whether it's just a grade level faculty meeting or a whole school faculty meeting. We'll ask the teachers and other faculty members to plot themselves as we're coming together to kind of gauge how we're doing and what we're feeling. Another quick example that I've seen teachers do nicely is use books they're reading in the classroom and to plot the characters on the mood meter, how a character is feeling. It really helps them connect with those characters and builds empathy and shows that characters change over time, and it's natural to feel all emotions and all emotions matter. So those are some ways we're using it in the lower school.
Yeah, the middle school is not very different. I think we lean a lot on using the two kind of the X and the Y axis to help students understand and really drill down into the nuance of what they're feeling. So especially if we're having a conversation, checking in, asking students to really frame and think about, are you feeling unpleasant? Or are you feeling low energy? Because those are different things, right? And how does that impact exactly kind of like we were naming earlier, the next thing that you're about to do? If you're feeling low energy, that's no big deal. Move into the next space that you're moving into and take it easy. If you're feeling unpleasant, maybe there's a bigger conversation that you want to think through with someone else or on your own about where that's coming from. And if there's work you need to do to move out of that quadrant, or if you need some time for yourself. So that's one of the ways that we implement it. And honestly, for us, it's the same at home as well. That's a skill that we use at home a lot. Trying to understand, am I feeling unpleasant or am I feeling just low energy? Because those kind of have different fixes. You want to make sure you're actually addressing the problem, or not the problem, but the thing that's impacting how you're feeling. So.
Yeah, so we mentioned the mood meter here because we want to connect it to the charter, right? You guys have come up as a family with certain ways you want to feel, and now you're feeling something else, which is completely fine. But as a family and as an individual, how do we get back over to what we want to feel that we have in our charter that we came up with? So I think that's another way of utilizing the mood meter to see, hey, how can we get back to that level that we want to be at, that we all kind of, co-signed as a family or as a school or as a classroom.
Real quick, I wanted to share our word cloud. Let me find, I'm gonna steal your sharing capabilities. Can you see it?
Yes.
Can you just see that? Can you see anything else? I mean, it's fine, but anyway, I just want to make sure we're good. Okay, so as we can see, peaceful, supported, accepted, seen, relaxed, appreciated, calm, enjoyed, valued, loved, and understood. And honestly, the words get bigger as they're said, in more frequency, and they're pretty evened out. I would say relaxed, appreciated, supported, loved, calm are a little bigger. But I think this is helpful to look at because I see like appreciated, valued, and supported. They're not the exact same words, but this is an example of maybe taking those three and like finding some common denominators there, or like which one feels like it fits the most. Or relaxed and calm can have a lot of the same feelings, and so let's pick one of those instead of having both of them. Or understood and seen is another example of two that are different but have a lot of the same undertones to them, to where there doesn't have to be as many like repeating, and there's more room for more words. So anyway, I love seeing all the ways that we want to feel while we're at home, and I like the variety too. There's lots of different things, a little more than it was in the pre-K classes, but to be expected.
Do you want to share do you want to throw in the mood meter like link again, or do you feel like we have?
I think that we're good. We only, okay. I think, yeah. I kind of looked and it wasn't really working, my like results thing. So, okay. Everyone at least got to check in with themselves, and that's good. We did our inner work. we might not be able to see it, but that's fine.
That's okay.
I think the last slide just said questions, so maybe we'll stop sharing, right?
Yeah.
Is there anything else there? Okay, cool. Well, does anyone have any questions about all things charter or mood meter or just ruler in general?
And you guys can always access us, later if you think of something as well.
Yeah, and we also have, do you have your sheet of the creating a family charter like PDF?
Yes.
So we have a lot of the information we shared in a PDF that we either have or are going to send out. And so I know that was all kind of like breezed through, but that is like a really simple, like step-by-step way of like, how do we do this? Again, it's not like a science per se, but it is helpful to have some steps there.
Yeah. Okay, we'll hang out for a few more minutes if anybody thinks of anything. We appreciate you guys coming and learning about the charter. And again, if you have any questions, please get a hold of Phoebe or myself or your division heads.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. This was really helpful. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Good.
thanks
Of
for
course.
joining us.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Night, guys.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Phoebe and Alencar.
Sure.
That was wonderful.
Thank
Yeah,
you guys.
great job, y'all.
Mhm.
Okay, we'll see you guys. We'll hang out for just another minute or so.